you for this fucking episode.
Well, I'm less excited because Brandon's gonna shit all over it, and I think
Brandon
Eddie
shits
is
over
too.
everything. You know, it's just how it is.
First off, number one, I don't think you should only say Brandon's just showing it.
I'm the voice of reason on this. That's all I'm saying.
No, you're a voice of negativity is what you are. Welcome to another episode of Season 5 of 3.5 Gentlemen, the podcast, where 3 of the 4 hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections, while one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and always on the Starship Enterprise are my co-pilots, Jeremiah.
Borg. Sounds Swedish, yo.
Eddie.
To hell with our orders.
And Brandon.
Resistance is futile. But here we go, listeners. We're going to do a little special something for our number one host. Sean, who never actually gets to tell us his quote of the day, is going to now get a chance. So I'm going to say, introducing our number one host, Sean.
We fall back, and they engage. We give up whole worlds, and they assimilate. When I draw the line here, and no further. That is the quote, motherfucker.
You've been trying to go Picard all fucking day. All day.
That was the line, bro. That was the line.
Jeremiah, how many seasons are we in?
That was the greatest line of the whole movie.
5, right? We're 5 seasons in.
I draw the line here, and no further.
I believe that this is our first Sean quote, and I got to be honest, it was worth the wait. So we'll see you again in season 10, Sean.
The next Star Trek, when we do the next Star Trek review.
Or James Bond. Yeah, I want him to do James Bond. Yeah, so you can do vodka martini, shaking that stereo with a lemon pill. Remember that? I said that for 3 seasons straight. Let me go back to my spot. Okay, I went all the way down to scoring already. We're not there yet, huh? So with season 5, we've been changing things up a bit. We still be picking movies that we think would be fun to talk about. But for this season, we'll be playing a loose version of 6 Degrees, where each host chooses their film based off the previous one. As long as that movie shares an actor, actress, composer, director, or writer, or any extra person we see in the movie. So,
as tenuous as the relationship is.
As long as there's a line.
What about a conductor?
We make it so.
Conductors? I mean, I feel like we do that now.
I think we did.
Oh.
Yeah, dude. I did a conductor.
There was an extra. Hey, if it's extra
services?
it counts.
Okay. They made the food.
No. We have to draw the line in catering services.
And no further.
As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question. How many drinks does it take to get through the film that we just watched? Now, at the end of the podcast, we'll rate the movie based on a scale of 0 to 5, 0 being the perfect film that you can watch stone cold sober, and 5 being sort of the film that makes you feel like you're being assimilated into a Borg with your thoughts and entire being connected to the hive.
It is not a Borg, it is the Borg, just so you know.
Because they're
the
a
collective,
hive.
the Borg.
Oh, but I still say a bumblebee, even though they're part of a hive network, too.
Well,
I'm going to change
I say it's Mr. Roboto.
Anyway,
go ahead.
Last week, Jeremiah had us following and rooting for a broken down but still badass superhero with Logan. And since Sean has the next pick and, like with Lawrence of Arabia, was set up to fulfill a bucket list movie selection, Sean, tell us what movie we've got heading our way at warp speed. Thank you, Mr. Cochran.
So I know for a fact this movie is not going to go down well with many of the judges, but still, this is the type of movie that is right in our bailiwick. It's a 90s movie. It's fun. It's Patrick Stewart at his probably most Patrick Stewart-esque. And
he's so macho in this movie. I love it.
And what really is iconic and it kind of fills our mandate of the podcast is that this is the first non-Kirk, non-original cast film.
Yeah.
So all other Star Trek has been based before 1993 was based on the original series, based on the original cast, Kirk, Spock. This is the first time we get to see the Next Generation cast, who has spent 7 successful years on television in their TV series, culminate in a series of 4 movies. This is the second of the 4 movies, the first one without the original cast, and I have chosen Star Trek First Contact.
There it is.
First Contact.
And 1996 Star Trek First Contact.
Yes, and tell us why did you pick First Contact specifically?
Curious.
Well, Patrick Stewart,
Oh.
because Patrick Stewart was in Logan, and Patrick Stewart was also in the First Contact.
Fantastic.
You
Thank
just
you.
couldn't go with Dune, the original Dune, right?
Couldn't.
You know?
No, talk about just a brutal score. Jeez, that would have rivaled our couple of movies ago. We did 50 Shades of Grey.
I don't know about that
of the
one. I feel
Desert.
like we're a little hard on that one. I'm not gonna lie,
Well,
guys.
yeah,
50 Shades?
Listen, hey, if you know how we always
I
talk
look
about
back
like,
at it now. I'm like,
yeah, if I could vote on that one, I would have gone a 7. But hey, you know what, Ed? But Sean spoke truth when he said that this is a 90s movie. I will give him that 100%. This is a 90s movie. And so we're going to be
I
going
agree.
way back to 1996 with Star Trek First Contact, which continues the storyline created with Star Trek The Next Generation TV series, and it is the 8th movie in the Star Trek movie franchise. This piece of cinematic platinum, not even gold, platinum, follows the crew of the Enterprise under the leadership of Captain Picard, who was once assimilated by the Borg, but was returned to his fully human form. Their task is to time travel to centuries in the past to ensure that Zephram Cochrane makes first contact with the Vulcans, which the Borg want to prevent. However, during their battle with the Borg, the crew members of the Enterprise find themselves at odds with one another.
Okay.
This movie, directed by actor turned director, are we sure that's a good idea? Jonathan Frakes, stars Sir Patrick
Two takes
Stewart,
breaks.
LeVar Burton. You can tell it's 2 takes. I would actually say 1 take break.
LeVar Burton.
LeVar
Reading
Burton
Rainbow.
with glowing
Fuck yes.
eyes, man.
God bless him.
I miss his goggles. Anyway, it's got James Cromwell, Alfre Woodard, which we got to talk about those two, and Brent Spiner because he's Data. Star Trek First Contact has earned an IMDb rating of 7.6 out of 10 and has a Rotten Tomatoes score of, wait for it, Eddie, 93 goddamn percent with the critics.
how many people?
I think
8?
2. I think that they were. Did they?
A lot.
Here's what I'm going to say.
A lot.
Here's what I'm going to say.
This is-
I
look at-
looked this up.
They took this at Comic-Con in San Diego. Obviously, that's where they got these numbers.
Was this the first Comic-Con in
That's
San
the
Diego? I mean,
first,
this was
yeah.
the original.
This is
wasn't
a
it?
TrekCon.
I'm gonna set
High
up. I'm gonna
score.
set this movie up, but from where we were at this moment with Star Trek movies, this was like fucking Casablanca.
Oh,
It was
I don't
the
ever
first
wanna see
Star
the
Trek
other ones.
movie that was like watchable.
Okay.
So-
Before we get into that, let's get into
Time
the
out.
drink because I got so
Yeah.
much questions
All right.
about
Yeah.
Okay.
the state of the 90s in Star Trek and all this
And
shit.
cinema.
So,
As
As
in
with
general.
every movie review, we try to pair our selection with a cocktail that we hope will enhance the viewing experience. Ed, take us through the drink that we'll be enjoying this evening.
First Contact is the Borg Queen. That is the cocktail we're drinking tonight. The Borg Queen packs a pretty potent punch of liqueur power. To make this cocktail, I know I did too much there. Sorry, that's like
Brandon's
Target
an
and
asshole.
Target.
No, Brandon's an asshole.
Okay. Yes.
I was
To
laughing
make
as
this
I was
cocktail, you
typing
need
this.
to combine 1 ounce of green apple vodka, sour apple schnapps, whatever you want to pronounce it, you know what you get, along with a splash of sweet and sour mixed into a shaker of ice. Shake the mixture up and make sure not to bruise the alcohol. What? To strain the cocktail into a martini glass and enjoy the glass.
So the reason you don't want to bruise the alcohol is because it's apples, bro. You don't want to bruise the
Oh,
apples.
okay. I was like, bruise the alcohol. My alcohol, I bruise it every time. What are you talking about?
All right,
gave that-
cheers. Let's try this. Let's try this apple.
Try
This apple
and
Queen Borg.
That's not bruising the apple. You're bruising yourself when you fall down. and
Oh
everything after
God,
your
that's
first drink.
appley.
Amanda would like this, is all I'm saying.
I tell you what, I've had a day of drinking, which is last night at the club I had 2 drinks, and then today I had like 3 drinks at
Oh, the
lunch.
club.
Was it all
golf
club?
club, the golf
Oh,
club,
wait a
guys,
minute.
golf
Is it
club.
Was it all gothic and all Borg out? You know?
Yeah, no.
What's up?
Okay, number 1. So
No,
this
it wasn't
drink,
that
I'm not
kind of
gonna lie
club.
though, a lot of apple, and I feel like this is a Brandon drink.
No,
Brandon
It
likes
definitely
this.
is. It's
Too much apple. This is an Amanda drink.
okay.
So I want to throw out the review. So the 93%, I was really surprised with that, and the audience score of 89. Because of that, I'm like, okay, open up your eyes, Eddie. Maybe you're not seeing something correctly, and I want number 1 host to dive into this.
All right. So, like I said, this is the first fully fully Star Trek Next Generation movie. Jonathan Frakes, there's a history in the Star Trek franchise of the actors directing the movies. William Shatner directed the last, I think it was Undiscovered Country. Leonard Nimoy directed The Search for Spock, I think, and the Voyage Home. So you kind of have a history of this. And this movie, I know that the CGI is a little tired, but this movie brought to the screen a brand new Star Trek villain that nobody had seen since 1960, 67 or whatever the first original series was. It was fresh, it was different, and it was a totally different crew. And it was just very exciting to see them on screen in a different type of movie.
I got a question to ask you. Okay, so I was reading a lot of research about this movie. Okay, I was shocked to find out that this was the highest box office return of all the Star Trek films before the Chris Pine era, right?
Right.
So let me ask you something. This movie made a lot of money, and it's actually ranked number 3 or number 4 of all time Star Trek movies, before like the original 2. Why is this one so much beloved? Like what is it about this film that just stands apart from the rest of the Star Trek film? Because this
really
movie
good question.
made bank. And like you said earlier off mic, like this movie spawned the success of this movie spawned 8 other fucking movies after this, or how many movies and shows.
This saved Star Trek, and it created a new generation of watchers. That's basically what it did.
Why is this film?
So yes, so basically, I think 2 reasons. Number one is it came off an incredibly successful 2-part episode of Star Trek Next Generation at the end of season 3 and the beginning of season 4 called Best of Both Worlds. It was a 2-episode part series, and it explored the capture of Captain Picard by the Borg. He became Locutus of Borg, which is like a spokesperson for the Borg, and he attacked the Federation at the Battle of Wolf 345, 349.
Whoopi Goldberg was in it.
Like that.
And Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg was in it. And so the Battle of Wolf 349, I think it's called, is a turning point in Star Trek mythology or history. That's where you had the other shows branch off of, Voyager and Deep Space Nine, and it created the mythos that Star Trek is more than just about Kirk battling the Gorn or Kirk doing this or Kirk going and doing this. It changed the whole trajectory of Star Trek in general. And so when they introduced the Borg into the movie, it was the first time we had seen a new villain. It wasn't a Romulan. It wasn't a Klingon. It wasn't the things that we've seen 1,000 times. It was completely fresh and new.
Brand new. The Gorg.
Yes.
I mean the Borg.
I would say most people on Earth, unless you were watching Star Trek Next Generation television show, had never seen the Borg before.
Got it.
I will tell you this: the Borg were fucking terrifying. I remember being a kid watching this movie to think that they would just assimilate you. They would stick those little things in your neck, and then you become part of their collective, and there was no
Very
survival.
Vampiric.
So they don't make you as a clone. Once they pretty much it's almost like Alien. They inject something to you and they make you a fucking Borg and shit like that.
It's called nanoprobes, and you become Borg.
Then you strap on some metal and you're there. So
crazy, dude.
So I mean, for those of you guys out there who don't know, Sean is a Trekkie. And you've seen the TV shows and the movies countless times. It's an annual things. I mean, some people do Twilight over and over and over, Jeremiah. Some people do Lord of the Rings and Hobbit over and over and over, Sean. But I do have a question, Sean. Do you speak any Klingon? And this is a genuine question. Okay, I want to hear some.
I do not.
Oh, you don't?
No, I do not.
Oh, well, that's disappointing.
No. I actually became a Trekkie very late in my life. It wasn't until
never too late to learn a new language.
It wasn't until college that I actually started watching the original show. I'd always liked the movies, but I never really.
So
you're making up for some lost time.
Movie theaters?
I saw the movie in the theater for sure, but I never watched the original show.
Mm.
Oh,
but
my
I remember the Borg. I remember the Borg being fucking terrifying, because they just kept coming. It was like the Terminator. They just kept spreading, and they would just come after you. And the people, they had to kill their friends. You remember, like they had to shoot their crew members and kill them because that was more mercy, more
Picard's like,
merciful.
oh, there goes Larry, or it happens.
Red shirt number 4.
Yeah, red shirt.
But no, I love the fact that he apparently was assimilated, right, in these TV shows, and then he comes back, but he's just like, they're fucking gone, shoot him. But no, I do have a question though, because you keep talking about, and I'm trying to be gentle, Sean, but you keep talking about how the Borg are fantastic bad guys, right? But to me, as a non-Trekkie, I looked at their design and I looked at their staging and their presence as kind of joke, not the look. I thought the look was really, really badass. But here you have this, they won't attack unless they feel threatened. And I'm going to go to me, one of the tougher scenes to watch, and that's when they're all spacewalking and they're trying to dismantle whatever it is, the satellite or whatever.
They're the dish. They're getting rid of the dish.
So they're getting rid of the dish, and literally it was like a slow zombie attack, but yet they keep cutting over. Frakes keeps cutting over to the Borg, and they literally like make eye contact, and they just go back to doing whatever they're doing. It's like they're construction workers in 10th Avenue, and all I can think about is, what would make them feel more threatened than laser beams being shot back and forth, and yet they aren't attacking? And when they do attack, it's just kind of like this, like I said, it's like a slow Frankenstein monster zombie. So did you, coming back to it later in life and watching it again, did you feel that was threatening, or was it not as threatening as you think it could have been?
You're hitting a perfect nail on the head, which is the pacing of Star Trek historically has been so terribly slow that it's hard to watch. When they have a space battle, it's like, oh, they're drifting to the right and firing their laser. Like, Star Wars solved that problem, and J.J. Abrams successfully solved that problem with the new Star Trek. He made the ships agile and move. But Star Trek, they weren't warships. They were explorer ships. So there was the whole idea of it is that this crew is not supposed to be battling anyone. They're supposed to be exploring the universe. The only reason that they have photon torpedoes is to protect themselves. And it's clear throughout the course of the run on TV that they never fire first. They always take fire first. They always assess the situation. It's always calm and not really exciting.
What's weird about this movie, and for me, it felt like if I'm watching a Star Trek film saga, it feels like I just went in right into the Two Towers. Like there must have been a whole fucking story before this whole thing.
Glad, Sean,
and you're just
glad you told us about that other thing, because I read up on it. I didn't watch it, but I read. I
actually know
the synopsis of it.
This episode. I literally did homework. You're like you should watch this and this. I'm like, God damn it, I got to do homework and to watch this film. But I'm glad I did that, because like I would have been completely lost on what am I getting into, because again, this is like the Two Towers.
But you asked why this movie was huge in 1996. Think about the movies that were coming out in 1996.
Well, the first movie that comes into my mind is Independence Day. Independence Day came out 4 months ago. Twister came out that same summer too. So you have all these big blockbuster films, There was a lot of blockbuster movies in 1996. And I think this was just something that just it was a part of it. But I'm just like looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is the highest box office return. This is better than The Wrath of Khan. Oh yeah. Or The Search of Spock.
Oh yeah.
What's interesting, Jeremiah, though, is that the movies that you're talking about, right? The movies that came out in 1996, Independence Day, I think Deep Impact is right around there. Armageddon came right around there, right? But these movies had such a stellar visual effects team, and this looked like it was created by that Star Wars kid, right? The kid with his lightsaber in the garage.
So I'm gonna defend it, and I'm gonna say,
Sean's like, wait a second.
No.
That was me.
Because number one, so here's how bad it was. Okay, they reused fucking costumes from the active television shows. They pulled them off the people because they didn't want to redo costumes for this show. They got all the Borg stuff out of storage and used it again, even though that it kind of was all broken and destroyed. Like, Jonathan Frakes was a director. He directed for nothing. The movie didn't. The most expensive part of the movie, I think, is Jerry Goldsmith's score.
Oh my God!
He did 2 movies, right, Sean? He did 2 movies. Jonathan Frakes.
2 Star Treks, yeah.
I heard that Stewart was the one that actually mentioned or suggested that Frakes Jonathan does the movie because they were giving it to Ridley Scott and the guy who directed Die Hard and
really?
Predator. And they both declined it. And they're like, dude, just give it to Jonathan. You should bring someone that knows the universe, knows the story and everything like that.
Oh my God.
I'll give you something about this movie that did really successful that a lot of Star Wars movies didn't do. They brought all the characters. Now, I don't know anything about these characters like Data, LaForge, Wolf, but they brought all these characters and they put them into an adventure. Something that Star Wars films, the recent ones, we're not able to do and unsuccessfully bring the characters of people that you love, I guess, so much into the story, dude. Like this is what the Star Trek film did in this film.
It does it good.
Pretty awesome.
No, I just want to. I
agree with that. It does. It did really good with that part.
We're talking about Jonathan Frakes, and I just have to talk about it because it made the little kid inside me smile, but then it made the movie connoisseur podcaster just cringe, and I just got to talk about it. And that is Jonathan Frakes, who plays Riker, right? And every time he's on the screen, every fucking piece of dialogue that guy gives, you could just see he's like in his head going, ha, 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 Mom, I'm an actor. I made it. Look at him just smiling. He's so happy. And I swear it's not realistic. It makes me just laugh. But I'm just like, the little kid inside of me is just like, God, that's how I would be if I was on a movie set. And I'm like, I made my dreams come true. Anybody else feel that? Like,
it felt like David Hasselhoff a lot.
He was just like... You don't.
Well,
we're actually up here with Cochrane.
That's another huge criticism, right? You've got Patrick Stewart, who is
Shakespearean,
probably. I mean, a Shakespearean actor. You've got Brent Spiner, who plays Data. He is the best actor of the bunch,
hands down.
And then the rest are just the only thing they've ever done in their lives is Star Trek. So you're talking about people like you have no Harrison Ford. You have a bunch of people who were like, hey, we're gonna be into movies. Like
I read about this, information about this movie, right? The first draft of this story, the characters were supposed to have opposite storylines. So Riker was supposed to be facing the Borg, and Patrick Stewart was supposed to find Cochrane, all right? Oh. But Patrick Stewart must have flexed or something, and he was just like, there's no fucking way that I'm not going to be the action star of this film. So basically, Riker had to fucking eat crow on this shit and let Stewart have his fucking
never been happier doing that since.
Bruce Willis moment, dude. Yeah. So yeah,
well, and Brandon,
all he can do is smile.
You laughed like they offered the movie to Ridley Scott. They offered the movie to the guy who did Die Hard. And Star Trek is third rail. This is where directors go to die. This is not a franchise that launches your career. It took 2008.
93% on Rotten Tomatoes, bro.
I'm telling you right now. But okay, so there's your First Contact, and then there's Insurrection and Nemesis. And Nemesis is it literally killed Star Trek completely.
I kind of want to watch it.
They were like, it's terrible. We're gonna bring back TV shows. We're gonna do all this.
Is this the best Star Trek movie before the newer ones?
Yeah, this is the best Picard. This is the best Picard without doubt. Generations is good, but it has Kirk in it.
Okay.
Yeah, but even the Star Trek fans, they rank this as number 3rd of all Star Trek films, you know? It's up there with Wrath of Khan and the original motion picture of Star Trek. People love this film.
No, the original motion picture is trash.
So I just want to say, I don't know if we talked about this, but this brought both universes trashing, right? Because this came out in 96.
No. What do you mean?
I'm saying, so this became at a time where 96 was with the Phantom Menace. So you had Star Wars fans and Trekkie fans.
99, yeah.
And but I'm saying, but after the other two movies, because this came out before Phantom Menace, so you had Insurrection in 98, and then you have Nemesis in 2002. So all of a sudden you had this cross of fans. I remember watching this at one point. You had Trekkie fans and you had Star Wars fans, and it was just like a hatred for both sides.
But then you had Venn Diagram Sean. Here's Venn Diagram Sean. He is both.
Yeah, and I was just like, this is at like all high time, like at a high of all Trekkie fans / Star Wars fans. I thought it's the best time of the era
This
for
was
Star
peak.
Trek
It was
Star Wars.
Yeah, it was peak Star Trek.
It was just cool to see Stewart just be a fucking
It was.
action star in this film. I mean,
What do you think of
he
Alfre
was-
Woodard?
Oh, okay. So
I thought she was great.
well, let's. I want to talk about a couple things. Number one,
I thought she was great. She was badass. She says shit on the Star Trek fan.
that's true. Listen, then we get bullshit. Yeah. No, I need to cover my ass just a little bit because this is going to be a poorly rated episode for me. But I love Sean so much, and I just want to kind of clarify that I think I don't understand Star Trek, and that's one of the biggest problems with me because this was super campy and it was super cheesy, and I know that it was done intentionally, or at least I'm hoping it was done intentionally, because if this was done for serious and this is what we got, then that's tough. But there is a problem, and this is my problem, is that you have Patrick Stewart, who, he's Shakespearean, classically trained actor. We know how quality he is as an actor. We have seen how quality an actor and actress James Cromwell and Alfre Woodard are. And my goodness, they were terrible in this. My favorite part, and Eddie and I had a side text going on. The part that I literally rewound and watched again. I rewatched this just to make sure that I wasn't dreaming it. Was when James Cromwell is up there with the other two, LeVar and Frakes, and they're just in the back going, "How badass is?" Because they're living their childhood dream. I get that. But then, for whatever reason, James Cromwell sees something, but we don't know what he sees, and he looks directly at the camera, and I mean directly at the camera, and he goes, "Sweet Jesus!" Like
Sweet
that was gonna be my quote this morning, but I couldn't figure out how he said it because it was so bad. So I get the corny, I get the cheesy, but at the same time, when a viewer is approaching it from a non-understanding point, I think that it was tough because I see these actors and actresses who I really do respect, and then I go, ooh, are they as good as I think they are? So I would say that you were asking about Woodard. It was not what I was hoping for from that, but it's also not what I was expecting. I think that's where I'm going to leave it at that.
Because I remember watching this movie when I was 11. It's a lot different than what I remembered. I'm not gonna lie. I remember I was all in it when I was around that age. I was just like, I really enjoyed it. And I think that's what you get with Star Trek. Because I feel like maybe I don't want to grade it poorly, but it's because I don't know the Star Trek universe properly, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
There's so many movies before it, and I don't want to I can tell if you're not in it from the very beginning, it's really hard to jump in the mid movie. Like, even if it's a whole new cast, I feel like I still was
missing the vibe.
A lot of information. I was missing the vibe. I was missing information. I was like, I was expecting Captain Kirk. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, is Patrick Captain Kirk now? Like, I was
expecting like a J.J. Abrams because that's a serious attempt at it, right? That was serious, and the
Very
tone of
serious
that
movie.
was what I know.
So I was lost a little bit with my idea of like, okay, where am I jumping in at what part of the universe? And that's where I have to remember, like, okay, I'm jumping in somewhere. I have to just roll with the punches here and just figure out the storyline. And that's where I feel like it was almost unfair to judge this movie by only watching this movie. Because there's a whole other universe before it, and then there's something afterwards. And I'm just like, okay, this is like a storyline. I'm picking apart this one movie, and it's not fair almost.
The best way I can describe that, what you're saying right there, is The Dark Knight is probably one of not only the greatest cinematic movies of all time, but it's also probably one of the best superhero movies. But lest we forget, Batman spent 20 years with Adam West.
Yeah.
With Pow and Whap and Wham and all the different things that happen there and caricatures of the Penguin and the Riddler. This is to Adam West what J.J. Abrams is to Dark Knight.
So that's a really
you've kind of got to take it with a grain of sand, because Star Trek is supposed to be campy.
Yes.
And it's supposed to be preachy, and it's supposed to be a totally different tone than Kirk, where it failed only because Patrick Stewart put up his little skinny ass chest and said, I want to be I want to shoot a gun. First of all, there's been no guns in Star Trek until it's always been a phaser, like a little bitchy phaser. Mm-hmm. And now he's got a freaking like phaser that's a shotgun. And I'm like, really, bro? But this is the kind of stuff that they're trying to do to make the movies more appealing. And I totally agree that after spending 7 seasons with these characters, I know their idiosyncrasies. I love the little lines that they share that are completely lost on you.
Yes.
Even before Marvel, you know how they connect films and TV. I mean, Star Trek, they were the first franchise to actually nail this in a kind of a way where you had TV shows and you also had movies where you had to actually like, oh, you need to watch the TV shows before you watch the movie to get more information. I agree with Eddie with what he's saying. Like, we started right in the middle of a story that we had to kind of like just like run with the punches on this one here, because I had a lot of questions. Like, the Borg somehow gets, attached to the Enterprise. How in the fuck, and within 2 minutes it spreads and they take over the Enterprise?
That's
like, and like, how do they, like, in so many minutes? Who's the Queen Borg?
Do we see her at all? The Borg? Like, I mean, and this is, granted, I don't think that you need to give this exposition,
I really like the
but you need to
rumbling.
give some kind
Is
of
it a computer virus?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Sure. I mean, no. I mean, the Borg are a species from the Delta Quadrant. So we are in the Alpha Quadrant where Star Trek takes place.
I know, yeah.
Okay. No, I
Okay.
mean, but this is what the whole Star Trek Voyager is about, is they go into the Delta Quadrant and they find out that that's where the Borg are, and they are assimilators of cultures. All they do is expand their knowledge and assimilate cultures. So all they find a species on a planet, they totally decimate the planet, they turn everyone into Borg and move on. They send out cubes into the universe to find new cultures and assimilate new civilizations. That's all they do.
Where is the hive?
They are like a virus that never fucking stops.
Where is the hive located?
So that's in the Delta Quadrant.
Oh, okay.
And if you go back and look at the show Voyager, the last episode of Voyager, they destroy the actual hive with the Borg Queen.
Yeah, damn straight.
And that's really cool because old Janeway goes back in time and convinces the young Janeway to give up her morals to get rid of the Borg so that they can send them home. It's really cool.
Did Guardians of the Galaxy still that same plot?
Interesting.
Yeah, kind of.
So I will say this about Star Trek, and I'm going to say it, and this is going to be the nicest thing I say about Star Trek ever, is that my knowledge of Star Trek, I saw Wrath of Khan when I was, I think, 9, maybe. So can't really speak on that one. So I remember now 2 things of Star Trek, of the shows of movies, and that is J.J. Abrams, and that's this one. And the one thing that the commonality between these is not quality of film for sure, but it is time travel. And I love the fact that they just kind of like, hey, time travel is a thing. Because, I mean, we've talked about time travel significantly on our podcast. And we love us some time travel.
They have a time prime directive. So they have a time travel prime directive because every couple of seasons, everyone comes to modern day, whatever the show is. So like if it's in 1997,
badass.
They'll come to modern day San Francisco, 1997, but there's the temporal prime directive and it's always tachyons. The show always starts with, Captain, I'm detecting tachyons. And then all of a sudden they go through a portal and they're in a different time. But every single time they have this thing called the temporal prime directive, where they can't change the past to go when they go back to the present, or they skew into a fourth dimension.
Sean, is it true? Because I was reading about this. Is that this was actually called Star Trek Renaissance? That the story was going to take place on the Renaissance era.
I read that.
Yes.
Like the Borg was going to be in a dungeon castle, and that Data would have been Leonardo da Vinci's apprentice. Yes. This is fucking
I want
true.
that movie.
And they use that same. Hold on, they use that. That is a series of episodes of Star Trek Voyager where they use that storyline with Janeway as. And guess who plays Leonardo da Vinci? Fucking Gimli from Lord of the Rings. John Rhys Davies.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is Will Wheaton in this episode?
So Will Wheaton was in about season 4 or 5 after the Battle Wolf 351 or whatever it's called. He left the Enterprise and went to Starfleet Academy to become an officer in Starfleet. No, an officer, and then work his way up. And then he came back in the later episodes, and he has a gift of time travel and there's called the Watchers, and he actually becomes part of a group that looks at the temporal timeline.
Interesting.
I was so sad that Will Wheaton was not in this fucking movie. I'm like, hey, he's supposed to be in the Next Generation.
He was only in Nemesis for a minute at the wedding at the very beginning, and that's it for the movies.
We're talking about Stand By Me, right?
Yeah, Stand By Me, Will Wheaton, who I think Lieutenant Hawk replaced him or something in this movie or something like that.
Well, no, he had been off the show for probably 4 or 5 seasons before the end. I think he exited in season 4.
Will Wheaton, Big Bang Theory, right? Also,
yeah.
And he was really good. I mean, go ahead.
No, I want to mention something that I read in our IMDb fun facts, and that is that James Cromwell was interviewed at some point, and he said of all the characters I've ever played, what's his name? Cochrane. Cochrane is the most like me in real life. It's the most like me, and I thought that is probably the worst thing that you could say about yourself, because
you're basically an alcoholic. Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrified of being, of any kind of pressure put on you. And I just thought
responsibility.
Yeah. Like, what do you think? Do you think that's true?
Okay.
What did you, but put it this way. I say that because I want to talk about Cochrane. I want to talk about his character.
I know this movie isn't deep and it's not this, this analytical type movie, but they go back and meet their hero, the person that they've built a 200-year civilization on, where they have statues. They have Zephram Cochrane Day. They learn about him in school. And to find out your hero is just not what you were expecting is it's not a cliche. It's the truth. Every time it's the truth. Yeah. And the fact that he's this weird drunk who really doesn't want to do this test launch. Yeah. And everyone's kind of pushing him into it.
I love when he said, I take trains.
And then to be able to witness that moment in history, I would say it's the same thing as being able to sit in, the capsule that landed on the moon. That's the same type of thing. Apollo
8,
10, 11? God, no, I can't remember.
No.
But that's the type of moment this was for them.
It could have been worse. Like, at least they didn't have a lightsaber and throw it, behind them and everything, and just be a hermit in a fucking island or something like that. Like Skywalker.
So how did Picard, if that's his name, or Captain Kirk 2.0, is first off the Enterprise D? It's Enterprise D? Is this the same Enterprise ship, and they just graduated into it? Like they started slowly, or is this a separate ship?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many years. I want to say
the same ship, and everyone just moved on, and then they hey, it's like a graduating class moved into this ship.
I want to say Star Trek Next Generation happens 60 or 100 years after Kirk.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah. So
they're all dead.
That's what I read.
See, Brandon, did you know that the Borg Prince asshole?
The days of Kirk are gone, but I don't know if it doesn't feel right that it's 100. I might be wrong there. It's a considerable period of time.
Give me a second. Google will tell me.
In the first episode of Star Trek Next Generation, Bones was a
okay.
He guest starred, but he was super old. Like he was 100. Like he was old as shit.
Oh, okay.
So
like that.
There is definitely so yes, to answer your question, this is like the 4th iteration of this ship, Enterprise. And so you
good job.
And they keep making them.
80 years, Sean. 80
years. Okay.
I was shocked that this was the very first PG-13 movie for Star Trek franchise and everything like that.
So I think that the violence had a lot to do with it. This was more violent. This was more aggressive than a lot of the other Star Trek movies. And keep in mind that PG-13 rating came out with Indiana Jones. So a lot of Star Trek movies came right after that.
Yeah, but this one kind of felt dark, actually. I read that the director he got a lot of inspirations with movies like Alien and Blade Runner and Jaws and things like that. And it kind of looked like Alien a lot with the hallways and how the Borg somehow spread their fucking Borgness everywhere in the ship.
Jeffries tubes and the
Yeah.
So I want to bring us to Eddie and my side text because we both
Sure.
We both got such a, I love this movie our first time through more than I think Eddie did, but this made us appreciate the fucking shit out of Galaxy Quest. My God, Galaxy Quest turned into Godfather. And I say that
this made me understand Galaxy Quest so much more. I say that
because go watch the Orville. You'll laugh your ass off.
I was like, oh, I get all these jokes from Galaxy Quest.
Right, we have the Neil McDonough character, Hawk. Right, is that literally he is a fantastic looking gentleman. I mean, he's just piercing eyes, and I love how Frakes is just like, we're going to drag this camera and linger just a second on Hawk because he is so handsome. Does he do a damn thing? Not a chance. Like when he turns to a cyborg, I literally laughed because I said, what are they going to focus the damn camera on now? Because there's nothing else. But it got this makes me appreciate Galaxy Quest. And Eddie and I were talking about it. And it's like that's a 0 now after this movie because it hits all the right points.
I want to restore Galaxy Quest because of this movie. Like I feel like I didn't understand the whole universe and where it came from, and I appreciate it a little bit more.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna have an episode where we get to rescore one movie from our catalog, what we think we should have been best.
Halloween.
So like now I want to watch Galaxy Quest because of this movie. I'm like, I understand the guns and the other aliens and the jokes and the ha 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 ha. Like,
I got a question to ask you guys. Okay, so I'm going to ask you one question. You give me an answer here. Okay.
Yes.
If you had to go in an Enterprise, who you follow the battle? Would you follow Picard or would you follow Kirk? One answer. Who would you go with?
Oh.
Can't do Pine.
Oh, can't do
that.
Pine.
That's a fucking bitch movie, by the way. It's the same character.
No,
but you know.
I'll go first.
Okay, then I'll go.
Who do you go? Picard or Kirk?
Can I ask a qualified question?
Which Picard?
I'm gonna go Spock. Sorry, guys.
No, am I a principal cast member or am I a no-name number beeper?
You are number 1.
You're red shirt number 4. You're red shirt number 1.
In my bones, I'm gonna go Kirk.
Okay. Let me ask something. Who's your favorite captain? Is it Kirk
Brandon,
or Picard?
No. Okay, so I would go with Picard, and this is my non-knowledge of Star Trek, so. Sean, definitely feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Picard cares more about his entire team, where for me, Kirk seems much more, I want to be the hero of the day and damn anybody else who's not helping me out. I feel like I have a better chance of surviving and being cared for with Picard.
That's very true. But that was the whole thing, is that the original series of Captain Picard were about the 5 principal characters. That's all that was about. Kirk. Kirk was about the 5 principal characters. Picard is about his whole ship. There's episodes in fucking Enterprise or in Star Trek Next Generation where they explore the lower decks. They explore like the non important characters, and
there's so many decks.
It's a beautiful show. That. It's just hard to watch. It's so hard to watch. Yeah.
I'm going Kirk, man, and I'm going Chris Pine. I like Chris Pine Kirk. I'm behind. I'm going behind him. Sorry.
Man, I haven't seen that many episodes or movies with Picard, but man, Picard, he's British and he's badass. You know what? He looked like John McClane in this fucking movie here, so I'm going to go with Picard.
Yeah.
To be clear, he is not British. He is French.
I don't care. He has a great British accent. I like it.
And I would also go with Picard.
I want to talk about something that I was stumbling on, and I have actually this is a record 3 bullet point notes about this thing, which I've never done in any of my notes, and that is to say, what the fuck's going on with the holograms? And I'm glad that we're going there because I need to know.
All right,
who's Ned the Nose?
There's 2 callbacks. To the holograms or to the show, one to Voyager and one to Next Generation. The first is the digital doctor, who at the very beginning pops on the EMH, and that's from Star Trek Voyager. He's a wonderful actor. He sings opera. He's a great fucking character in that show. But so that was the first callback to Voyager. And then he goes into the holosuite with Alfre Woodard, and he's trying to escape the Borg. And understand the holosuites have safety regulations that are on, so you can't get hurt with the bullets and stuff.
But why have it?
Good for entertainment. So there's 4 or 5 episodes. There's 4 or 5 episodes of original series per season where the characters go to the holosuite and do what they call a holonovel. And so they did Sherlock Holmes, and one of the ones that
It's like, how are we supposed to know that?
and one of the most famous one. Hold on, one of the most famous one is Jameson Dix, where he's a private detective and he goes into this holosuite and solves murders in the 1940s. And so that was the callback to that. So he's always going after Sammy the Nose or whatever the hell his name is. That's all. That's like always his villain.
These are little like hidden gems for like Trekkie fans.
Why
You're like, oh my god, this is the episode. This is episode 7 from season 2.
service.
You know,
it's like the Clone Wars was mentioned in Star Wars: New Hope. Like, they said it, and we just never noticed it.
Let me tell you, that scene was akin to Maz Kanata showing Rey Luke Skywalker's fucking lightsaber in the new movie.
Yes.
That's it. The Force Awakens, but that's the type of love that people have for this.
My question is bigger. Why do they have a holo room in at all? You say entertainment, but why would you go in and be like, I'm going to be Dickie Schwips?
Is it for like scenarios?
Yeah, is it a flight simulator?
They're on a 5-year mission. Hold on. You're not understanding what it is. The holosuite has different programs. And you can go snow skiing, you can go water skiing, you can do a number of things. And so the ones that they focus on, the ones that they focus on is Sherlock Holmes, Jameson Dix or Dixon Hill, and a couple other ones where they get stuck in there and things go. They use it for Shakespeare sometimes, but it's just a way for them to let off steam and to go do stuff that they wouldn't ordinarily be able to do.
Yeah, like him, like carrying a fucking Tommy gun, like, you know, fucking like Home Alone people and everything like that.
Yeah.
I was completely like surprised during that scene. I'm like,
wrong chapter.
We're going here now.
He's literally shooting.
And then he turned off the security. First of all, he is shooting a hologram gun, but he turns off the security settings so that the bullets can hurt the people, the Borg, and the Borg assimilate to whatever you shoot them with. There was no sense in shooting them with the phasers. This was a new type of weaponry that he could kill the Borg with. It was actually for a storyline. It was
wait, Sean. I understand.
They learn nonstop. They're learning. They're learning nonstop. So every time you try to attack them, and if you don't successfully kill them, they learn, and you can't attack them the same way.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need footnotes.
I do remember that part. Some of the scenes, at one point, I was like, "Did they do this in the garage?" Like, I was just like, is that someone's 3-bedroom house that they just do this?
Yeah,
it was a 2-scene. In the grand scheme of things, it was a 2-scene movie, right? A field in Montana with some trees and the Enterprise ship. That's it. There was no other sets to this movie.
That's true.
There was no other. They didn't go anywhere else.
Like, if you told me like this was an episode from one of the series, I would be like, oh yeah, I agree with you, because it looked like a TV series.
Didn't
it looked like a
TV movie.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It did.
Hell yeah.
So, Sean, I was wondering, this movie is a 93 on Rotten Tomatoes. Is that because of the 68 viewers, the reviewers, or is that because people are like, hey, it just slides underneath the radar, or is that because it's a legit 93% for Star Trek?
Do you agree with that, Sean? Would you say that 93 is accurate?
So,
I know we haven't gotten to our voting.
Yeah, so the criticisms that you guys have are criticisms of not understanding the tone of the film. The tone of the film is supposed to be funny, tongue-in-cheek, kind of silly. But
is that how Star Trek movies are?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Oh, God.
100%.
Eddie, this might have to change my vote a little bit.
I mean,
she's changing my vote. He brought it down a half a shot.
The next fucking movie starts in the holosuite on the Enterprise ship.
Oh,
anyway,
my God.
So it's,
oh, my God.
Yeah.
I feel content with life. I actually feel really perplexed right now because I have no idea where I'm going with this, because I told Eddie what my score was, and now I feel like I can't do that.
So there's a whole other ship, and that other guy in the other ship, I think the other captain, I'm like, I think I know him. Do I know him? It was the very beginning of the part of the movie.
Or Thor? Or
face
you knew. So
it's a Klingon.
At the very beginning of the movie,
Klingon guy.
You had Worf, and guess who was in that ship? A very young Adam Scott was in that.
By the way, how did Worf pressurize his suit? He got shot in the suit, and he was ready to die, and then all of a sudden he comes in and saves the day.
Yeah, dude, he catches the leg.
Oh, and that's what you're saying. I missed that. I really missed that.
It's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's hard because I compare all Star Trek movies to the first 10 minutes of the newest Star Trek movie of the old. I mean, I don't know, of this day and age with Tim Hemsworth. I compare it to that, and I cried in that movie. Like I was just like, oh my god,
it was beautiful.
Is it all like this?
But consider this. Ed.
The answer is no, Ed. It's not.
But after 12 films and 500 Star Trek episodes and 50 fucking years, we finally saw in 2008 a good captured version of Star Trek. I mean, it had been 50 fucking years, and finally they got it right.
Hey, Eddie, some people might have cried in this movie as well. So it might have the same.
I did cry. I cried for other reasons, but I cried. When is it going to end? It's not ending yet.
It was fucking short too. Don't give me that shit. It was short. It was a short movie.
55 minutes. That was short.
It was long, man. That brings us to the end of review. Now it's time for the podcast where each of the hosts provides a score on the following scale. Lieutenant Huck, can you provide the scale, please?
My name is Guy. Yes, 0, the perfect movie. You don't need shit to enjoy it. 1, a feel-good first cocktail. 2, a happy buzz. 3, you're in an Uber or lifting home. 4, okay, guys, this is the area. Pay attention. 4, rough morning watch of shame. 5, blackout, shit face, spring break drunk.
Oh man!
All right, guys,
how are we gonna do this?
Listen, before we do this, I want to just go and say, in truth, this is why this podcast is vital to my living life, and that's because I went in with one thought in my mind. And
Sean, score in my mind. Sean brought it down to 4 grade.
Sean brought it down. I'm not going to say a number that he brought it down, but Sean, you did a whole lot with defending your homeland. So thank you. Actually, don't thank you, because I really wanted to shit all over this movie.
Well, thank you for not just shitting over it. Thank you for finding at least some humor and fun in it. So that's all I care about.
I did enjoy this movie. I think it's a movie that I think. If you
backpedaling son of a bitch.
If you watch any of the newer Star Trek movies, you probably should watch this Star Trek movie just to understand a little bit more of the universe. Probably watch the other 3 movies with it, not just alone, so you get a little bit more understanding of the universe. Don't just watch this by itself.
You can hire Sean to watch it with you.
Watch the one before. I recommend the one before, so you're not lost like myself. But
have Sean make you do homework to watch this movie, and you'll feel a lot better.
You have some homework to do with Star Trek universe.
All right, are you guys ready for this? Are you guys ready? Yeah. Ready for this? Okay, seriously.
As ready as I'm gonna be.
Be nice. Be Picard. 3, 2, 1. Oh, okay.
Oh, Jer, really?
All right.
Eddie, you want to take it away? Yeah.
Okay. I guess I can. So when I was doing this movie, this is a movie that it's one of those movies that I remember of a good experience when I was 11. And I think this is a good movie. Like, I do think this is a good movie. You get what it's 1996. You get the Star Trek, the idea of the universe, and I feel like Neil Patrick Harris, he brought a shotgun to the movie. He's like, I'm fucking changing little things up a little bit.
Harris wasn't in the movie.
Not Neil Patrick Harris. Sorry, it's Patrick.
Like, where did I miss Doogie Howser? What the fuck?
This movie would have been good.
Patrick Stewart. Sorry, no, not Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, Patrick
What's
Stewart.
his name?
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, okay. So watching this, I was saying, there's so much more movies to this universe, to this whole world. And it's hard to judge just this by itself. I was at a whole higher grade. I enjoyed this movie. It took me a couple of drinks to finish it. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed it with more drinking than not drinking to just get through the movie. This is a movie that it's not hard to watch, but you definitely have to open up your mind to a different, hey, you're watching Star Trek, just like Star Wars. I feel like if I watched the movie before and after it, I probably would have gave it this score a different grade because I wanted more of background and character development, and I just felt like I didn't get enough. I feel like I was missing a lot of the story. So I think that's a Star Trek. You have to watch the 75 episodes before you watch this one. Personally, so I honestly enjoyed the movie. I feel like you can enjoy this with your kids, your family. Like, I know Noah and Jacob, they were looking at it. They were watching it. They were just like peeking at like, what's going on over there with those guns and those. Why is something coming out of his face that way? And is he dreaming? Is he not dreaming? What's going on? I was like, I don't know. It scared the crap out of me. It made me touch my cheek a couple times last night. I was like, oh my God. But overall, I give this a 3.75. I was around a 4.5, really. I didn't enjoy a lot of the plot, but then I understood a little bit more of what Sean was saying, so I'm going to say a 3.75. Yeah, who wants to go next, guys? Let's go with JP. Okay. JP.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with Brandon, but okay. I think this movie gets lost in the shuffle, and I don't think it gets the right recognition because I think like 4 months in the same year, Independence Day came out, and it kind of overshadows it. This movie is fun to be a part of in the best way. You want to be in these adventures with this cast and this crew and these characters. I love Patrick Stewart. I love, the characters like Data, LaForge, Wolf, it's a fun movie to talk about, it's not the greatest movie ever, but the thing about this movie is like you just go with the film. I didn't know anything when we first started with this film. You just went with it. And you know what? It's a good film. It represents the 90s a lot of ways. The problem I had with this film is that a lot of it kind of felt like a TV show. And a lot of it, there was not really much character development. And one thing is that it's the bad person, the main villain in this movie here. I wanted to know more about the Queen Borg. She was interesting. I thought she was one of the best characters in this movie. And you don't get any like kind of backstory. She was a really good villain. And I guess, do we ever find out more about her at all? Okay, so we do in other stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Number one says yes.
I just want to know more about this here. It is not the worst movie that you will ever see here. It's actually fun to talk about, and it's actually fun to actually watch about. But it kind of felt like more of a TV show more than anything. Like, give this movie a try. You'll like it. You'll enjoy it. It's not the worst thing in the world, okay, guys? So you know what?
You'll pause a couple times, but you'll finish it.
Yeah, there's corny shit to it, but then, you know what? So what? That's a part of the film, but I just...
Way better than 50 Shades of Grey.
Anything's better than 50 Shades of Grey. However, it's just an Uber drink, It's just me being responsible, with my score. It's a 3 drink here for me.
All right, so I'm going to take it because I'm going to leave Sean and his happiness to finish because I think we need to end optimistically.
Yes.
Listen, I know I just said it a minute ago, but I really appreciate hearing different perspectives and backstory on these things that we watch because this movie, more than any other movie I think I've ever seen, and I mean that seriously, requires some dense spark noting, and I'm glad that we had Sean here to spark note with. I wish that possibly we had him before because I think I would have appreciated it more. I will not tell you listeners to go out and watch this movie, but I will say that, hey, if you have the opportunity and nothing else is available, then just know what you're getting into because that's my problem is I just didn't know what I was getting into. I have always been allegiant to Star Wars, which means that for, my mindset has always been, well, Star Trek is not right. It's cursed, where Star Wars is always the thing. And so I don't know the tone. I didn't know the humor. I didn't know the campiness went as far as it actually did, because when you watch this, you see the special effects and you laugh. You see the acting and the quality of actors who are acting and you go, are they that bad in their younger careers? Or is the writing that bad? Is the directing that bad? I have a hard time believing that the actors are that bad because Cromwell, I think, is one of my favorite actors. I think he's one of the best actors out there. Alfre Woodard, same thing. And so with this, I can go on and on about things that I didn't like. And this is by no means, in my opinion, a good movie, but this is a movie that after talking to you, Sean, I went down an entire drink. And this one, I will be sharing the Uber with Jer and Eddie so that we can save some money. I'm giving it a 3.85. It was definitely close to the shit-faced drunk, but I really appreciate getting a chance to kind of clarify some things. So I'm at 3.85, and now I'm going to turn it over to our illustrious number one.
Brandon, that's a very smart decision, by the way. Being number one.
Bring it home, number one. Bring it home.
So what I find interesting about this movie in particular and this franchise in general with Picard is how the tone suddenly shifted from the TV series to the movies back to TV with Picard. And I know I'm using facts not evidence because this is about this movie. But Brandon, if you're looking for a more serious take on with this cast, the last season of Picard was absolutely fantastic, and it was a little corny, but it hit all the emotional. It was way more emotional than anything you've seen here.
And that's what.
But let me just say this: Star Trek has 176 episodes of the new Next Generation. It ran from 1987 to 1994. It ran for 7 frickin' seasons. It has 4 movies, and now Picard had 3 seasons of like 10 episodes each. You're talking about a legacy franchise that's 60 years old that has stamina that people like watching. That being said, I understand 100% that you're plunged into a world of the Two Towers with zero history on any of the characters because you didn't watch 176 episodes. You didn't watch Worf start out as a mechanical specialist and then get promoted through the years, and you didn't see him with his son, and you didn't see that he actually left this show to go to, or he didn't leave the show. At the end of the show, he went to Deep Space Nine. You didn't see his progression as a character. He's one of my favorite characters, and he's not even in this movie. So I think you waste so much of what you've built because you don't have the time to really explore each individual character. So that being said, they focused on Picard and Data, their relationship, and the fact that Picard had to do the one thing that he has been the entire series not wanting to do, which is give up his ship. The heart of this movie is 2 best friends going after each other like Kirk and Spock.
I like it.
Into that room with the Borg Queen, where the Borg Queen is saying, I can make all your dreams come true. I can do everything that you've ever wanted in your entire life. Just give it to me. And they say, fuck off. And that, to me, is a good storyline. Cool. It's a good story.
It is.
It's solid.
And then, you sell
it really good, Sean. I like it.
And then you have that. I mean, you have that against what happens on the ground with, seeing your idol and Zefram Cochrane. And I agree with you. This is not, I've seen James Cromwell be amazing. He was not amazing in this movie. I've seen Alfre Woodard. She is fantastic. This was not her best role. I feel like this franchise has a tendency of making fun of itself to a point where people don't quite get it. And that's what you guys are feeling. And so for me, this is the best Picard Star Trek movie. This is probably the 3rd best Star Trek movie ever made. And, for all the fans out there, this is the one to watch. If you're going to watch one, this is the one to watch for Picard only. So with that, I give it a 2. It is a little above average for me. It's not a perfect movie. It's not earth shattering, but when you take that score and divide by 4, what does First Contact get an average rating of?
All right. It gives us a 3.15, a 3.15
round number. Eddie and me trying to screw it up, but we ended up screwing each other up.
I'm going to laugh when it's next to Galaxy Quest.
No, Galaxy Quest, we rated Galaxy Quest better.
Yeah,
Jeremiah,
super high.
Where does Star Trek: The First Contact put on our list of movies we have reviewed?
Number 76 on our list.
So what is better than First Contact?
What's better than First Contact is Tron Legacy, The Ring, V for Vendetta, 300, Troy, Vanilla Sky, Dracula, 1931.
Okay.
And what's worse? What's worse than Star Trek?
This is 40, Armageddon, It, Halloween, Space Cowboys, Point Break.
I kind of agree with that.
I would rather watch Space Cowboys and Point Break before I watch this one.
But yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was really hard on Point Break. I regret that every day.
Every day.
Every day.
And that being said, now that we're at the end of the podcast episode, it's time for one of our gentlemen to tell us which movie we'll be watching and reviewing next week. Since Brandon has the next selection, Brandon, what are we watching and why? So I'm kind of curious, Brandon, where are we going here? Because you are kind of like the ace up the sleeve. You always come out with something like what I'm not expecting.
I want to say he's more like a Joker, not the ace up the sleeve.
Sneakers was a fun one. Vanilla
He's at the
Sky.
stage like I have always
Yeah.
something in my back pocket. He's always like the Joker. I have
Bro,
no idea what the fuck he's
Brandon
coming with.
always has something in his back pocket. Okay,
Chaos.
Yeah,
let's do this.
Joker, man. He's a Joker. He is wild card.
He is the wild card. That's right. There you go.
Let's just talk about what I was left with. I didn't get a chance to really say it, and Sean, the votes are in, so you can get angry or you can be happy. But we talked about the acting being terrible, but the other actors and actresses that were on the movie were just, how do you go and find a spinoff? Like literally that they even did, so I had to really think outside the box. And as Jeremiah brilliantly did, he looked so far outside the box that he went conductor. I'm not going to go that far out. I'm just going to go to the edge wall and be like, which pretty face, haha, wink, wink, which pretty face can I then take and move to our next movie? So I am going to be going straight to Lieutenant Hawk, our man Neil McDonough, who has got some piercing, beautiful eyes. And we are going to go with a movie that I have been wanting for 2.5, 3 seasons now to do. And I'm going to set Eddie up for one of the greatest American short person action heroes of the world. And that would be Tom Cruise. So we're going to be doing Minority Report. I know what you're thinking. 2 sci-fi movies back to back.
Wait, we're going for it with another Tom Cruise movie. The actor that you hate so much. You're the only one who's been bringing Tom Cruise into this fucking podcast. This is hilarious.
Vanilla Sky. Somebody, Eddie, take the Cruise gift I'm handing you, and Jerry Maguire this shit. Come on now.
We're going with Minority Report.
Minority Report.
Steven Spielberg's Minority Report.
Yes,
John
so
Williams,
we've already used Spielberg. We've already used Spielberg. Have we used Williams? John Williams?
We have not used Williams. We have not used
I don't
Williams.
think so. We have not used Tom Cruise. Before we talk next week, a shout out to one of my absolute favorites, Colin Farrell. He is forever living in my heart, and I cannot wait to watch this movie again because it has been years since I've seen Minority Report, and I'm excited to chat about it with you guys.
I agree.
All right. So if you enjoyed our review or a fan of the podcast, we ask you please subscribe wherever you're listening and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. You can also find us on Instagram at the Gentleman Podcast. Jeremiah posts there quite often. And we would love to hear from you by email at hosts, HOSTS, at thegentlemanpodcast.com anytime. And I just wanted to do a little personal shout out. Thank you guys so much for not destroying this movie and making me feel like shit for the rest of the evening and the weekend. So
you did it yourself, man.
Look, we're so grown up. If this was season 2, it would have been fucking over. But we're so grown up here.
We would have voted after 4 minutes.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. Cheers, gentlemen.
Peace out.
Cheers.
Hey, you know that Star Trek has their own day? I didn't know this. Like, April 5th is like First Contact Day.
First Contact Day.
Yeah, so they have their own day, like Star Wars.
Yeah.